The NBA began the formal process of removing Donald Sterling as owner of the Clippers today, formally charging him with damaging the league with his racist comments made on an audio recording. The league will hold a hearing on Sterling and vote on whether to strip him of ownership June 3rd. According to the Sun-Sentinel, the NBA will centralize video review next season by having replays assessed at a command center in New York. It's something both David Stern and his successor Adam Silver have suggested. Shake-up with the Memphis Grizzlies today. CEO Jason Levion and Assistant General Manager Stu Lash are out. Chris Wallace is back in as the head of basketball operations. Keep an eye on that. And according to multiple reports, Kevin Love has made it clear to the Timberwolves he has no intention of signing an extension in Minnesota. He's set to become a free agent in the summer of 2015. So reportedly, the Timberwolves are assessing their options and softening their stance a little bit on whether or not to trade Love sooner rather than later. If you're Love, who's obviously going to have a ton of leverage in this because if he's traded, that team will want to know he's going to sign an extension there. Basketball-wise, take geography out of the equation. What would make the most sense?
Well, I'm going to put geography in it. I'm going to go to California where he played his basketball, and it's not either one of the L.A. teams. I think it's best fit the style of play, and also you're looking at, obviously you have to give up a lot for Kevin Love, and if it's David Lee or Harrison Barnes or somebody like that in Golden State, I see him fitting well with that offense with a Stephen Curry and maybe a Klay Thompson. Now, however way you do it, I think just seeing him and Stephen Curry and pick and rolls to me, Brent, is dynamic. How can you stop them? You can't switch, you can't hedge. And then on that other end, he will rebound the basketball. So Golden State, to me, taking out all the numbers and, like you said, geography, I think Golden State is the best place for him.
And that's one of the teams where reportedly he has interest in playing as well. What do you think?
I agree with Smitty. I think that would be a dynamic lineup, and you're kind of getting everything you want if you're Minnesota back in terms of some production, a young player in Harrison Barnes, which is, early reports would be that he would head to Minnesota in a deal that's something like that. But the other thing is, who does Kevin Love want to play for? The issue with Steve Kerr being a first-time head coach, wondering what Steve is going to do. Is there another team out there that Kevin Love has already thought about, enjoyed playing against because of the style and the system that they've presented? Are the Houston Rockets one of those options? We know how much they love the three-point line. What would Houston have to give up to give Kevin Love the opportunity to play in Houston alongside James Harden? So lots of interesting scenarios out there. And, of course, Kevin Love, a coveted commodity because of the monster numbers he puts up. The issue is, for a lot of these teams, Smitty, is will Kev Love help you win? Because in Minnesota, a lot of people feel like there was enough talent to win. This team did not make the playoffs in his 6 seasons there. We know he's a remarkable individual player. I don't have any questions regarding that, but people float that. What does Kevin Love do for you in terms of the win column?
I think also, Brent, for me and you both, we talked about Golden State, we talk about Houston. But if I'm a general manager for Minnesota, I had to get so much back from him staying in the Western Conference.
Absolutely,
and facing him back. So if I'm the general manager, whoever's making that decision, Flip Saunders, I'm sending him east. But if you do have to send me west, you have to get a lot back because to see him night in and night out, it's going to be a nightmare for the Minnesota team.
You need premier sort of players.
Yes, a lot of them.
Young players, and at least one first-round draft pick, you would think.
And with all of that being said, that's why we can't mention the Lakers in our scenario, which is where everybody assumes that Kevin Love would love to have the opportunity to go play back in Los Angeles.
Lives in L.A. in the offseason.
Lives in L.A., enjoyed his collegiate career, as Smitty said, at UCLA. That would be an interesting scenario to play out. But Kevin Love is one of the most unique and incredible talents that the league has, so that the asking price will be astronomical.
And kind of the same deal with the New York Knicks, where Phil Jackson reportedly has plotted, that's the word that I keep reading, plotted ways to bring Kevin Love to New York. They don't have a lot of assets to return the other way to Minnesota to make that deal happen. How about this from Ricky Rubio, Love's current teammate? Did you catch this quote from Ricky? Quote, "He is a special player. His numbers are unbelievable, but maybe our leader must be another player. He is our leader in points and other things, but he can't be our voice leader. Perhaps he shouldn't have been our leader. Perhaps Kevin Martin could have been our leader because he had more experience. Perhaps I could take a step ahead to be the definitive leader." How do you reconcile what a guy does with his actions physically on the floor and vocal leadership or lack thereof?
Well, interesting to hear that from Ricky Rubio. You might wonder if some things are lost in translation when Ricky Rubio's answering questions like this, but when he gets to that last sentence and he uses the word definitive, that's pretty good usage of the English language. And so you have to wonder if there's some things along with the way that Kevin Love approaches the game, or the way he's approached the last few seasons, about his focus solely being on going out and being productive and not really worrying about what's around him to create the culture of winning, because he feels like if I do my job, everybody else will come along, rather than the communication skills and touching base with each guy on the team. Maybe some of that happened in Minnesota.
How much of that will be a factor for these teams going after him?
Well, I think when you look at him, I mean, you haven't heard a lot of players coming out of Minnesota camp talk about him not being a good teammate. And obviously, he might not be a great leader. Everybody's not born to be a great leader.
Right.
But what I do see is that eyeball test, the way he competes night in, night out.
Plays hard.
He plays hard.
Yeah.
And he does the dirty work. And obviously, we see the numbers he put up. But the dirty work in the trenches from a guy that's not that athletic. You know, I think anybody in this league will take a Kevin Love. Obviously, if it's what helps you coming back, what you're getting from Kevin Love.